how exercise can naturally boost testosterone levels. My name is Eric Chapman, founder of Allegiance Health of Southwest Florida, here in Naples, Florida. We're a hybrid medical practice that focuses on wellness, employee health, and walk-in sick visits. Today's video, we're going to talk about how to naturally increase testosterone levels. Specifically, we're going to talk about how exercise can naturally boost testosterone levels. We're going to do a multi-part video series on natural boosting of testosterone. We're going to talk about diet, sleep, stress management. Today's video, we're going to concentrate on exercise. Let's get straight into it. Now, we all know that testosterone is a vital hormone in human function, not just for men. We also know that as we age, testosterone levels diminish naturally over time, and if it can get too low, patients will experience difficulty with concentration, fatigue, a lack of vitality. So exercise has been a proven, simple, and effective way to keep testosterone levels a little bit higher than what would normally happen with age to have levels diminish. So let's get straight into it. So when we talk about exercise and how to boost testosterone naturally, we're talking about two kinds of exercise. We're talking about strength training, resistance training. We're also talking about cardiovascular exercise. But the majority of this focus is going to be on strength training and some of the details on how you can use strength training to boost your testosterone levels. So the first thing is that strength training in general is a stressor to the body, and the body tries to adapt. And if you can activate large muscle groups, then you're going to stimulate the production of growth hormone and testosterone, which naturally happens if you frequently lift weights. And there's a few different details to talk about when we talk about strength training. So you want to focus on what's called compound exercises. So what are compound exercises? I'll give you a few examples. We're talking squats, deadlifts, bench press, rows. These are all compound body movements that activate very large muscle groups. For example, bench press will activate your whole anterior chest wall. Rows will activate your back muscles. Squats and deadlifts activates your anterior and posterior chain, your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, your calves. By stimulating these muscles, by making them feel a stressor, your body will then naturally synthesize greater levels of growth hormone and testosterone. It's important to note, though, that it's not just strength training, it's not just sleep, it's not just diet, it's all of these things together. This video is focusing on the exercise component of it, of the weightlifting component of it, but all of these things work symbiotically. So you activate large muscle groups, you use compound exercises, and this will stimulate a greater hormonal response. Then we have to talk about what's called progressive overload. When you're engaging in weightlifting activities, the best way to maximize testosterone production is the process of progressive overload. What does that mean? That just means that through time, little by little, you're increasing the resistance. So for example, maybe you're using a certain weight on week 1, maybe the next week you're increasing it a bit, maybe the next week you're increasing it even more. Increasing weight is not the only way to engage in progressive overload. Sometimes you can up the number of reps, sometimes you can increase the time that the muscle is under tension. And then when we get into muscle movements, we talk about the concentric and eccentric movements within a weightlifting routine. All of these things are ways to engage in progressive overload. Now remember, it's a balance, right? You don't want to go too hard, too fast, injure yourself, tweak your shoulder in a bench press, tweak your lower back when you're doing deadlifts, for example, because then if you're unable to exercise and lift weights for 4 or 6 weeks or whatever the time frame that you're out is, then that defeats the whole purpose of frequency and consistency and progressive overload and getting your body used and adapted to these stressors. Another thing that we have to talk about when you're trying to maximize natural production of testosterone in weightlifting is your rest periods. So if you can keep your rest periods a little bit shorter, keep the workouts a little bit more intense, that will play a role in just the combination of increasing natural testosterone production. You're going to hear different things from different people, and there's not a one-size-fits-all approach when we're talking about frequency. So for someone like myself who's busy, married, 2 kids, has a business, for me, I like to use 3 days a week, I'll do full body. Now, you'll talk to other people and they say they hate that split. Some people will do Monday chest, Tuesday back, XYZ. Other people will do what we call a push-pull legs routine, where they're circulating between push exercises like bench press and military press. So then you're switching maybe on another day to pull exercises like seated rows and lat pull downs or chin ups or whatever you want to do. Some people will even divide legs into anterior chain, the front portions of your legs, like your quads, versus posterior chain. So this is where the art of weightlifting and resistance training comes into play, and there's a whole host of very, very knowledgeable people out there who can expand on this. I'd love to hear your comments in this video about just the way you like to work out, because there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on how can you get the job done. How can you incorporate weightlifting and these ways to increase vitality within your normal life, right? You have work, you have family, you have all these other obligations. Do it in a way where you can be consistent, because that's really the last but most important piece when you're talking about strength training is consistency. If you don't have a consistent way to work out, lift weights, engage in resistance training, then everything that we've talked about is not going to come to fruition. So that's really, when we talk about exercise, the most effective way to naturally boost testosterone. Now, again, as stated before, it does not operate in a vacuum. If you're working out but not eating properly, those things are going to conflict. If you're not getting proper sleep, if your stress levels are out of control and your cortisol levels are up, and you're just in a constant state of adrenal stress, these anabolic hormones that build muscle, like growth hormone and testosterone, are now competing with these catabolic hormones like cortisol. So it's an interplay between all of these dynamics. Cardiovascular exercise, specifically high intensity interval training, does have a role in the production of testosterone, but when you look at the studies, you see that the spike is less lasting than the slow, methodical progression of weight training. By having high intensity interval training, you're spiking your heart rate, you're creating a stressor to the body. So it does play a role. And overall, we're not just focusing on testosterone production, we're talking about overall cardiovascular health, well-being, the mental health benefits you get from exercise. So I know this video is talking about how do we use natural methods like exercise to boost testosterone and to feel good, but it's, again, a symbiotic relationship between all of these things. So this is part 1 of a multi-series video. We're going to talk about diet, we're going to talk about protein consumption, we're going to talk about sleep, and some of these other things that play a role in testosterone production. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, leave a comment below. We'd like to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much. Have a good day.